Let's first start by looking at what rage mechanics are. So rage is what directs the activation of a commander's active skill. Majority of commanders have a rage requirement of 1000 before the active skill can be triggered. An example of an exception is Genghis Khan with a rage requirement of 950. Now to add another layer to this, once the rage bar surpasses 1000 rage, the primary commander will trigger their active skill. Following this, 2 turns later, the secondary commander will trigger their active skill. During the turn the active skill is triggered, no other effect can take place. For this reason, this is why there is a gap of 2 turns between the primary and secondary commander's active skills, as between the activation of both of these active skills, we have 1 turn to make up for the effect which would have taken place if the primary commander's active skill was not triggered. Rage is generally generated from direct attacks, active skills, and finally a small percentage from counterattacks. We can tell active skills contribute to this, as when we test the rage mechanics in an isolated condition, it takes 11 turns to trigger the active skill, and thereafter we only require 10 turns to trigger our active skill each cycle. There are some important considerations to take away from rage mechanics, one being when your march is below 30% troop capacity, aka in the red zone of the capacity bar, your march will generate rage at a 10% increase rate. Secondly, excess rage generated is not carried over into the next cycle. For example, you hit turn 9 and your total rage is 999 at the start of the turn. Now let's say we generate 91 rage in this turn, giving us a grand total of 1090 rage. But you've got to remember the rage requirement for triggering an active skill is 1000. Therefore, we will cast the active skill in turn 10, but that excess 90 rage we generated will be lost when the rage meter resets in the next turn and the new cycle begins. For advanced players, this should be taken into consideration, particularly in the development of the talent tree, reviewing the commander's active skills, and the effect of debuffs on the battlefield from things like equipment, for example the silent trial, which will increase the length of a rage cycle. Once these factors are taken into consideration, they will provide optimal play for these types of players.